Welcome to Fleet Auto News. I'm Caroline Falls, and today I'm speaking with Jason Jameson, Senior Vice President and General Manager for Asia Pacific for the technology group HERE Technologies, spelled HERE. I'm with Jason now after hearing him talk on a panel about the future of technology, automotive and sustainability, and an event hosted by HERE in their offices in Melbourne. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast, Jason.
Thanks, Caroline. Great to be here.
I'm not sure if you know that this year the Fleet Auto News podcast is focused on sustainability in fleet management, transport, etc. And I love how clear the message was today from both you and others on the panel, including executives from Coca-Cola Europe Pacific and Amazon Web Services, how clear the benefits of technology are for sustainability. Before we talk about that point, though, let's talk about your company, HERE Technologies. I'm a bit embarrassed to say I didn't know previously how ubiquitous you are. Tell us about HERE, your predecessor, where you are, what you do.
All right. Well, so I came to HERE just under 12 months ago from the IT industry, and what we're seeing, HERE is a location and platform technology company. So what we do is provide a digital representation of the world through understanding where people, places and things and how they interconnect. And this is all about a real-time, continuously changing view of the world. So we built our business as a startup 35 years ago in Silicon Valley. Before that was even a thing. And since then we've evolved to provide maps globally in over 200 countries, our underpinning navigation in over 160 million vehicles globally. And these days our platform handles 100 billion transactions a month. I came to HERE from the technology industry where things like cloud, Internet of Things were areas of my background. As the location industry is evolving, these sorts of insights from what the technology industry is doing really sort of help transform the future of HERE and support our customers.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from HERE is that you are the location services, like the maps provider, for really well-known brands like Garmin and one of the telematics companies here in Australia that's really big, MT Data. What other brands are you sort of like providing the underpinning?
Almost every major auto OEM, so car manufacturer, some truck manufacturers like Isuzu, all use our underpinning map. And then on top of that, we have up to 800 attributes of things like real-time traffic and warnings, etc., that can be applied over the top to provide a real-time view for routing and navigation.
Where do you get the data from?
Well, we source, we capture the data ourselves in a lot of cases. We sometimes use third parties to help us with that, but we also get a lot of probe data from the automotive companies we have contracts with to give us these real-time insights. And all this is appropriately anonymized and to make sure that it can't be retrospectively recreated to give away any privacy information. But we're very strict about those sorts of things.
Okay, so you're in Australia, in Melbourne. How long has the company been in Australia, and what things has the company been working on, say, in the last couple of years?
So HERE's been in Australia over 17 years. As I said, we've been in operation as a company over 35 years. And in that time, the company has moved from just providing a digital map to further advances in terms of other content that layers on the top, like traffic, etc. We've worked with the automotive OEMs to get our maps installed into the automotive, into motor vehicles around the country. But since then, and the past few years, we've done a lot of work as we branch out from automotive into non-automotive areas across transportation, logistics, and supply chain, government as well. And some of the things that we're seeing increasingly of interest by customers are things like building their own private maps. Going from the public road network to private road network, and being able to navigate across that and optimize routes and reduce the time it takes to move from location to location using technology.
Now, as I said in the intro, I was compelled to talk to you today to tease out the story about the links between technology and sustainability. I get that technology like location services and live traffic can help optimise route planning and save fuel and emissions. So maybe you can sort of like talk about that concept and maybe other technologies that support sustainability goals that so many businesses have these days to be more sustainable.
Yeah, I think sustainability is the big challenge of our time, and from a business standpoint, it's interesting because if you can reduce emissions, reduce the carbon footprint, as opposed to just offsetting it, you're really making a meaningful difference to the environment. And what the sort of things that we can do through technology is with having a real-time insights around where things are, where and when, basically. We can optimize to reduce wait time. Lots of time spent with trucks idling away, waiting to get loads at gates in big yards. If you can map from point to point, from dock to the public road network, to the next dock, loading dock where it needs to go, these sorts of things really can streamline operations. So it's not just about optimization of routes, it's really about that whole end-to-end story and having that visibility to ensure that you can take the least carbon intensive route. And we're doing some work with a company in Switzerland, a retailer called Migros. And we've built a CO2 insights tool for them so they can plan the least carbon routes for their deliveries. And that's the type of technology that we're bringing to the industry.
Wow, that's fantastic. We'll be back after a short break for a word from our sponsor, Sofico Services.
Sofico is a world-leading provider of enterprise software for the automotive leasing, finance, and mobility industry. For more than 30 years, international leasing companies and OEMs count on Sofico's expertise and technology to help them transform innovative product concepts into streamlined business processes and engaging customer experiences. With more than 370 experts, 8 offices on 4 continents, and an annual growth averaging 15%, Sofico is perfectly positioned to help its customers succeed in a rapidly changing market where electrification, shared fleets, and multimodal mobility challenge us and our customers to play a pioneering role. Continuous investment in people, innovation, and leading-edge technology is the basis for continued growth and success.
I was speaking earlier today here with a representative from one of the world's biggest brands, and they told me that using HERE location services and maps, which underpins their transport management system, they've cut their transport carbon emissions almost 20%, 19% actually, in the last 5 years. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I think that is amazing, but it's almost the sort of savings you can get if the organisations are committed to doing it holistically. And I think the example you talked about have done that extremely well.
Do you have any other sort of statistics or anecdotes or stories like that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, so around, if you can use location to optimize the execution of multimodal shipping, which means shipping going from air to sea to last mile with trucks, etc. There can be an improvement in reduction in idle time of up to 15 to 20%. And there can be improvements in ETA estimations of 20 to 40%. And if you think about the impact that has, if you know when something's going to turn up, you're not wasting your time doing things that don't need to be done. And if you can reduce idle time, you're stopping diesel emissions in a lot of cases. But the other thing is around EVs, so electric vehicles. And this is something that, there's still issues around range anxiety where, can I get from point A to B with an electric vehicle to do this delivery? And we provide real-time insights around EV charging stations, their availability, and fast chargers, so that if you're doing these routes, that can be incorporated into the delivery schedule to make sure that the vehicles are always fully charged or charged appropriately. So, there's lots of stuff.
Yeah, wow. Another thing I learned today was Isuzu has just launched a new in-vehicle technology for its Australian trucks, which is using your technology here. And I'm sure, Simon Humphries would love to be here talking about it, but he's not. So can you tell me a little bit more about the Isuzu launch?
Sure, yeah, and that was just announced this week. And so we've partnered with Isuzu so that they can deliver in their vehicles a real-time map, a map that updates in real time for traffic, but also has all the truck attributes, low bridges and hazardous load requirements, so that when an Isuzu truck is on the road and it's using our navigation, it won't be sent to, it'll take into consideration these attributes and then have the route planned to ensure that it's not going to go under an under-height bridge, or it's, if it's got a hazardous load, following the right routes for that. So the other piece is the real-time updates. So this is something that is a big shift in having a map in the vehicle that has all these advanced attributes, but also real-time, which means that as soon as we update the map, it's updated in those vehicles.
So the last couple of years, we've experienced so much disruption. I get that everything about business as we once knew it, complex supply chains that worked, are in flux now and being rethought. I just want to get from you, what do you know, what's happening? Will supply chains become more simple? Will more companies farm out and contract out, or will they contract less? Has this big disruption caused business to adopt more technology sooner than they might have otherwise? Can you talk about some of those sort of issues?
Yes. It's pretty clear that the world's challenged right now with supply chains. There's been shocks with the Ever Given blocking the Suez Canal for a couple of weeks. You're clearly having constraints around semiconductor production because the Japanese chip factory burned down. COVID clearly impacting availability of workers, and also government stimulus throwing a lot of extra demand in the system, which has overloaded supply chains. So if you add all that together, what's come out of this is there's an absolute need for resilience in supply chains, which is the ability to adapt in the event of constraints popping up, right? So how quickly can you reconfigure your supply chain if the Suez Canal is blocked? And then, of course, you add onto that right now the Ukraine invasion, the war in Ukraine. And that's having an impact on component supplies for, say, wiring looms in automobiles. So, how do you find other suppliers quickly? And so this idea of real-time visibility on supply chains, this end-to-end visibility is super important. So if you have goods in transit that suddenly there's a constraint where they can't go to the Suez Canal. How quickly can you reconfigure those deliveries or resource from somewhere else to offset or address that constraint? So what we see is this visibility of location being a really important point, which is the where and when of supply chain, and in minimising the duration it takes for handoffs, and being able to track those estimated times of arrival, ETAs, accurately. And we see up to 20 to 40% improvements in arrival ETAs on the basis of doing this sorts of automation.
Jason, we've been talking for about 15 minutes and I feel like I could talk to you for another 50 minutes. It is so interesting. Technology and logistics and automotive, it's just truly fascinating. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today.
Thanks very much, Caroline. I've really enjoyed it too.
You've been listening to Fleet Auto News podcast. It was edited and produced by Isabella Fiorentino. Thank you again to our new sponsor, Sofico Services. It's great to have you on board. The original theme music for this podcast was created by Isabella Fiorentino. You can follow us on Spotify. Just search for Fleet Auto News. We're also on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. Our website is fleetautonews.com, where you can get all our stories, videos and podcasts. Until next time, drive safely and take care.